Why, hello once again, everybody. Dr. Phineas Cortex at your service as usual. And you'll have to excuse me there for a moment. I was merely limbering up on exercises. One thing's for sure, you do have to keep a limber in space. Yes? But let's not dilly-dally with that anymore. Let's go right into the question of the day. Let's see. Now, this question comes from an Ian, and he asks, Dear Dr. Cortex, are wormholes real? Well, that's a very good question, young lad. We don't know entirely, but the theory that upholds the concept is acceptable in some ways. You see, a wormhole is like a doorway to another part of the universe. Say that the universe is like this little card here. It is a flat plane, and with all the galaxies and the planets and the stars all spread out like butter on a piece of bread. Now, it will take a very long time to go from maybe this part of the paper to this part of the paper, or in a more realistic parallel, this part of the universe to this part of the universe. But if we fold the paper over, and if we, I don't know, normally to demonstrate, I would take a piece of, a pencil, and stick it through both sides. This way, the point A and point B will be astronomically close together. And that is basically how a wormhole works. However, we really don't know how to form a wormhole or how a wormhole works. Technically, we don't know how to form one or how it is supposed to form itself. But we're thinking on the lines of black holes, leading us to think about wormholes and how they are formed along the lines of black holes. Because black holes are a vacuum within the vacuum of space, if that makes sense to you. It sucks things in. It moves things from one place to the other. So, we are hypothesizing as scientists and astronomers if those two subjects are intertwined. But wormholes, for now, will remain a mystery. But good question, nonetheless. Now then, let's get right into the, oh dear, there's some space dust again. You'll have to excuse me. Let's get right into the meat and potatoes of things, shall we? Let's see. Now, yesterday, we left off with nebulas. And I told you that we were going to further discuss a star's life cycle. Well, we are on that point today. So, I have some data. Let's look at it. Now, a star in and itself is obviously not a living being, but they do have patterns of existence, meaning that they age like biological life. Now, I have here today sort of the typical life span or series of events that a typical star might go through. And these are really the two most common streams of flowing, so to speak. So let's start up here. You have a nebula. Remember me talking about how nebulas form stars. Yes, they are the after products of supernovas, and if they bunch up together, all that hydrogen and helium, they start going through that nuclear fission. A thing called a protostar is born. In layman's terms, it is basically a baby star. Now, the protostar from this point can go in one of two directions. Let's go to the left one for now. So say that this protostar manages to become a very, very hot and a very, very bright star. Now, in terms of time, this type of star will age and dissolve quicker than normal stars because it is exuberating more energy. So we have here a very hot and bright star. It is doing the nuclear fission of the hydrogen molecules in order to provide itself with energy. And as time passes, a few thousand years, as a matter of fact, the very hot and bright star forms into a red supergiant, which is a humongous star, almost at the end of its life cycle. It is continuing to build on this hydrogen-eating affair, and sooner or later, the star just can't take much more. So, it explodes in a blazing ball of energy, heat, and all that hydrogen. And we call that, my friends, a supernova. Now, the supernova itself can go in two directions. Now, the supernova can collapse in on itself. Are you visualizing this? All the gases can collapse in on themselves from the vacuum and the pressure of space, and they can become, theoretically, a black hole. Or, listen closely, the supernova can dissolve in a matter of time, and all that will be left is a very dense ball of hydrogen called a neutron star. A very, very dense star. It's also a very bright star, in fact. Unfortunately, from here, the neutron star will continue to fade exponentially until it will be no more. Now, let's go back up the stream a bit. We're back at our nebula, our protostar. The protostar is aging, but if the energy were more organized, yes, then the star will become more of a sun-like star, a more typical star, which is good for the star itself, because these types of stars can live longer. Now, this star goes through the same processes, nuclear fission, over and over again, but this time it only increases in size just a little bit for it to become a red giant. Just a normal red giant, you see. And instead of forming into a supernova, like we saw last time, the red giant will instead slowly fade out. All of the hydrogen molecules are slowly fading out, and it forms more of this a fizzing nebula. It's slowly creeping up with aging. You can see the nebula forming, and then after all, well, I say all, after most of the material fades away, what is left is what is called a white dwarf, which is also a moderately light or bright star in and itself. Now then, the types of stars, really, let's go over that one more time. You have your protostars, the little baby stars. Then you have what is called your main sequence stars. A good example of that can be our sun. Our sun is a main sequence star. And then, of course, you have your red giants, and then your red supergiants. And then you have your white dwarfs and your red dwarfs, which are very similar, but a red dwarf kind of goes into the main sequence stars family, and of course the white dwarf is a white dwarf in and itself. And of course you have your neutron stars, those very, very dense stars at the end of their explosive life cycle. And I actually provided a rough chart down here. You can see size is increasing, temperature is decreasing this way, and actually no, sorry, I made a mistake. Temperature is actually increasing, yes? And then luminosity is increasing this way. So, neutron stars are basically your hottest and most luminous stars out there. And then at the very, very end, actually, oh dear, I seem to have made a mistake. I actually made a mistake here. Neutron stars are, no wait, no. I did this right. This is right. Okay, I'm sorry folks, there was another N up here, and I got confused between the two N's, so you'll have to forgive me. But anyhow, this kind of illustrates a rough model of the size, temperature, and luminosity of the main types of stars. And sort of this shaded region is more the median range of all of the stars and where they lie. But amidst all the confusion back there, I can definitely say that life cycles of a star are truly invigorating, and they are the main hubs of many, many solar systems like ours. And speaking of invigorating and energy-inducing, I do believe that I have another one of my Cortex challenges for you. Let's see what today's is. My word. Well, this proves to be quite interesting today. So, as I was doing a bit of before, a scientist in space, or any sort of astronaut in space, has to maintain his or her health. So, what I want for you to do after this video, have a brief exercise session. First, I want you to do 10 shooting stars. It's where you jump and you lift your hands and feet up off of the ground like so. Do you see that? Good. And then, after those 10 times, I want you to get on the ground with your hands on the ground, see, and then lift your legs up to your elbows, so as if you are climbing the mountains of Mars. Yes! And then after that, 10 more. Let's see. Jean-Bot, do you have any ideas? I don't suppose he has any ideas at the moment. Let's see. I suppose that we can run like comets. Yes! Run 3 laps around any sort of landmark of your choosing. Yes! Before you know it, you'll be shooting like a comet across the landscape, I suppose. Well, it is almost time for me to end it here. But first, let's see what our next topic is, shall we? Thank you, computer. I see. A very interesting one to boot. For today, we will be talking about... Well, not today, actually. I made a mistake there. Next time, we will be talking about black holes. Monstrous objects. Whew. Just the thought of them sends shivers down my spine. But let's not worry about that right now. A big shout out to Ian today for providing the question of the day. And if you're wondering how to submit your own question, just leave it down below in the comments section. Who knows? Your question might be answered on the next segment. And with that, my friends, I bid you ta-ta in 3, 2, 1.